Welcome again. So, this is the third chapter for research methodology. The name is research design. In research design, when we start or when we implement the research problem statement, when we define a research problem statement, then the further next stage is research design. So, we are supposed to think about how can we design the things properly so that we can implement complete stages of research very properly or very efficiently. In this regard, research design includes some of the questionnaire which we need to ask ourselves and find out the answers. All the answers can be noted so that the design will get a proper shape which will be efficiently carried out. The questionnaire what we can have as a research design are: what is the study about? See, we have already selected a project, and this project or this particular topic is related to some particular pinpointed definition. So in that regard, so we need to think the background activities related to that. What are we studying? Are we studying for what kind of output? What are the output we are expecting? Then second, what is the study being made? Again, we have where will be the study be carried out? So we in this particular questions we need to think that whether this particular experiment will be carried out in the laboratory, known as simulation based experiment, or on field experiment. Depending on that, we can define which kind of study we will be going to do. So this is a kind of plan, kind of situation. If we are going to study or experiment in the laboratory, then we need to set up a laboratory in accordance with our project or research. If we are not going to work in the simulation mode, then we'll be working on field. And this on field experience, we need to think what location, what will be the situation we'll be expecting for the research. Everything should be defined. So this comes under a design phase. Then next is what type of data is required. So we have observational data, sampling data, different datas that we will be using for experimentation. So we need to think about what will be the data, what kind of data, and what are the dimensions required in that data is also one of the important part in the design. What period of time will be the study include? So are we going to study or are we going to observe day to day on the experiments? Are we going to have a quarterly observation? Are we going to study in some particular situation, in some particular month only, and in some particular season? So these are a kind of requirement or thought process that we can note down and record it in the design. Then what will be the sample design? If we are going to study on a huge amount of people, then what will be our sample? Is it location based? Is it age based? Is it education based? So we are supposed to group the number of people, number of samples that we are going to use in our experimentation. So these groups will be known as samples. And once we define that on which particular group of people we are going to work, so these samples we can record and we can note down as a database for our experimentation. Next is what techniques of data collection will be used. See, there are a number of different techniques available in the market, in the research field. One of the very popular is randomized, which is we don't need to think much about it. Randomization is just simply go and get random data out of the available observations. But this cannot be always possible for every experimentation. So in some experimentation, we need to group the things. Some experimentation, we need to get a sequential data. In some experiments, we need to get a overlap data also. We need to think about the dimensions about the data. So this will define you what kind of data collection you are going to use for the experimentation. So once you think, you can note down. This definition, this understanding will be like a planning that this is what you are going to do. Next is, how will the data be analyzed? There are analysis methods available. Depending on that, which particular analysis method or which particular analysis approach you will be using in your research, that should be defined and declared. In what style will be the report be prepared? Once you define, see, we started with what kind of study you are going to do as your research, and finally we will end up with the what kind of report or what will be the style of your report defined for your research. That can also be studied in this research design. Next, once we say that this is a design of our project, so the design is nothing but a planning, predefining every part of a research. So somebody can say that these are the four different parts of a research design. First, this is a sample design, then we have observational design, then statistical design, and then operational design. So in sampling design, as I said, if we have a large amount of data, then we will be defining which part of that data will be used. And the similar type of parts exist in the database or data set. Those parts will be known as data samples. So each of this part will be a unique entity which will be provided as an input to the experimentation. So all these samples, when we are going to collect, so we should think about how are we going to define the sample of our experimentation. Every sample will have some constraints. For example, if we'll be focusing on young people, then there can be age groups from 20 to 40. So this age group will be considered as a young people. And among those young people, if we want to say that highly earning people, those who are earning more than 50,000 will be considered as a good earning group of people. If we are thinking about healthcare system, then we will check their age and the respective weight and height of the group of people. So if we apply all these constraints like age, then earning, then their weight and age and height, so all these constraints will allow you to select a particular group of people, and this is known as a sample for your input data. So this is what first part of your research design is. Once you define that this will be the group of items, data items on which my experimentation will continue. Then the second part is observational design. So we will observe the situation for collecting, gathering the data and the experimentation background. So this will allow us to define that what will be the situation I need to create when I will be going for experimentation and implementing my research parts. Next is statistical design. In third stage, statistical design, when we have sampled, how many samples we are going to collect, what will be the size of samples, what are the dimensions of those samples, we need to note down and we need to work according to that in the future. Next is operational design. Once we have defined sampling, observational, statistical, all these three parts will be carried out with the operational design. what will be the procedure for defining a samples, what will be the procedure for observational statistics, and third is statistical design, with what kind of operation, what kind of procedure we are going to apply will be designed, will be defined under operational design. Next is why we really need for a research design. See, everything uh, uh, we do, we will go with a proper plan, and this plan always help us to get a good results. So whenever we plan to have our own house, we will define, first of all we'll draw a structure. Before that, we'll go for a problem statement. What kind of house we need, how many rooms we need to have, what kind of amenities we need in that particular house. So we'll define all those. This is known as problem statement. After defining a problem statement, what will be the stage 1? What we'll do in stage 1? Then stage 2, then stage 3, and then stage 4. It continues. So this is known as the design of our plan, of our project, which will be beneficial while execution of the task. If we go with the proper research design, then this design really facilitates the smooth sailing of the various research operations. If we have already designed, then we can very easily go through execution of each and every step till the end of our project. This will also help us efficient as possible, yielding a maximum information with a minimal expenditure of efforts, time and money. If we have very properly designed our task in the project, then we can execute it step by step. Sometimes these stages can be parallelly executed. If we know that the data collection and lab setup can be done parallelly, then we will save our time, will save our money also by executing in less amount of time. So this will help us to do the task very efficiently, the smaller amount of money as well as time. Then concepts relating to research design. Some of the dependent and independent variables exist in our problem statement. See, we are not thinking directly about a project, but whatever idea we have documented, we have written, known as a problem statement. So related to that, we know some of the entities, some of the variables, some of the factors related to our project. That may be related with the data set, some may be related with the experimentation, some may be related with the result section. So these facts are known as dependent and independent variables. So the dependent variables are which are dependent on each other. The variables which are related to each other are known as dependent variables. We need to identify all those variables, because once we understood that these are the important dimensions, important facts, important variables of our project, then we can focus on it. And then there are some of the factors which are directly or indirectly affecting the a procedure, a result, or a experimentation, or even a data set. Those variables are known as independent variables, or those can also be known as externus variables. So some independent or other variables may affect dependent variables, or research activity are known as externus variables. So these external variables may not be fruitful to your project, because they are many times going to unsettle your experimentation, may take the regular procedure outward. Those can be considered as outliers. So we need to control those things so that our experimentation will go very smoothly, stay steady, work properly. So for this particular thing, we need to have a proper control on our experimentation, everything, including a collection of data. So research hypothesis is written. The research hypothesis is a predictive statement that relates an independent variable to a dependent variable. Hypothesis is it's some fact we are going to produce, which may or may not be true, but we are supposed to justify it in the future. So this is a problem statement, experimentation, what we are supposed to do in the future, we need to say it, declare it. So this is known as research hypothesis. Then experimental and non-experimental hypothesis testing research. This is again a concept related with the research design. Experimental and non-experimental. Experimental, which we actually go and execute in the laboratory or on field. Non-experimental, it's a descriptive basis. We are just going to describe it in detail, a text-based information or a audio-based information or video-based information, but which is not related with the analysis. We are going to describe in detail. In those cases, we may also suggest something. This is known as non-experimental hypothesis. And experimental will go and actually experiment and declare a result. Treatment, experimental environment. If we have a data and that data is input to our model, input to the environment we have created, so we will be going to provide some treatment, some procedure, some manipulation, some experimentation, uh, some laboratory work. So this laboratory work will help you to generate output. So this particular experimental environment is known as treatment. If we are making a tea, so a milk, sugar and tea powder is an input, whereas a tea is your output. But the experimentation, boiling a water, adding tea powder and a sugar is a treatment, experimentation environment. So this experimentation environment will really take you to the final result. Next is experiment, the procedure, what we are going to implement. So all these are some of the concepts related to research design. So we need to think and act on it. Different research designs. So we have here three different research designs. One is exploratory research design, also known as formulative research studies. Formulating a problem for a more precise investigation or of developing the working hypothesis from an operational point of view. It's moreover, sometimes research can also be defined in the form of a mathematical model. So this is a generalized but to the point experimentation and declaration of the result. So this kind of research studies will be more of the statistical basis and will provide you a very precise, very to the point operation of the research. And here you many times or many of the researchers will provide a mathematical model which will provide a truthfulness of the research, and this helps for those research who are working in financial sectors, in some analysis of the money oriented or some engineering experiments as well. Then we have a descriptive and a diagnostic research studies. concerns with describing the characteristics of a particular individual or a group, whereas diagnostic research studies determine the frequency with which something occurs or its association with something else. Descriptive and diagnostic research studies will mostly describing or explanation basis. So these kind of research topics mainly used in management kind of studies, whereas they will be defining the what will be the behavior of an individual person in some kind of experimentation, in some kind of environment. What will be the observation or a working behavior or of a group of people in some particular environment. So this is a kind of experimentation behavior. Some psychological studies have also explained their results in this kind of research studies. So then there is one more, diagnostic research studies, which occurs with association. If this is related with that, that is related with something else, A is equal to B and B is equal to C kind of explanation. Uh, Sometimes we can diagnostic in a medical field. They will diagnose that if you had this kind of food, you are if you behave in this particular manner, or your lifestyle will be this kind of uh, you have, then you have to face these diseases or these kind of problems, health problems. So this kind of diagnostic research studies can also be defined under this particular research design. Then third, we have hypothesis testing research design. Some concept, if we have uh, in a philosophical pattern, then we'll be experimenting it, we'll be checking it, we'll be verifying it by some experimentation. So these kind of experiments or research will be defined in hypothesis testing and research studies. Next is basic principles of experimental design. Three principles we have defined here. The first is the principle of replication. The experiment is always done on some particular factor, some particular input data. And the experiment, when we execute, the same situation may not exist always. So we need to experiment it multiple times to see that the same data, when applied in different environments, what will be the outcome of that experimentation. In another case, the same data is applied, or different data is applied in the same environment. Environment is same, data is different. When different data is applied in the same environment with a particular treatment, then what will be the observation of the output? So this can be recorded. Third thing is, the input data changes, the environment also changes. So when the input and environment both are changing, what will be the outcome after treatment should be recorded. So this has to be done. Then and then only we can define the proper result, and we can justify it with a good confidence. Then the principle of randomization. Sometimes the huge data cannot be directly applied, or if even the data is applied, then we'll be verifying the experimentation and the expected result with the help of randomization method. Select any data from a available data set and then apply. Will that particular output provide a desired result or not? That can be experimented, that can be observed. So this is known as a randomization method. Principle of local control. So when we have a huge data, then we partition the data in number of parts. So some part will be provided as a testing phase, the training phase, remaining data will be used. When we apply a training data, let's assume we have 100 or 10,000 data sets or different objects, then we group them into 10 parts. 8 parts will be applied for training. Once we train the model, then the remaining 2 parts can be used for experimentation, testing purpose. So this is known as local control, which can be also known as a folding method. Experimental designs. Two type of experimental design exist. One is informal experimental design and the other one is formal experimental design. In informal experimental design, things are not properly or to the defined procedure not done. So those are called as informal experimental designs. Again, those are classified under 3 parts. One is before and after without control design. Next is after only with control design. And the third is before and after with control design. In formal experimental design, we have a completely randomized design known as CR design. Randomized block design, this is known as RB design. Latin square design, LS design, and the last is factorial design. The informal experimental design before and after without control design is shown here. So it shows that we have a test area. This is a test area, and in this particular test area, the control is not much affecting to the experimentation. So that is why we say that before and after without control design. So this is particular thing where level of phenomenon after treatment and level of phenomenon without treatment is applied. So this particular block diagram is related with after only with control design, and this particular diagram is defined with before and after without control design. In this particular design, we have level of phenomenon where we are providing x as a variable. So this x variable is applied with some treatment, and then we get a y variable as output after experimentation. So what are the effects of the treatment on input to output is verified here. This is known as treatment effect y minus x. In the second stage, after only with control design, is this where we are having some control. We are trying to reduce the independent factors involved in the experimentation, which should not affect the variables. So this particular design will have a direct treatment, whereas the after treatment we are just directly applying a treatment into the input data, and this will have the experimentation after control and with control and without control. Means in the first stage at for y we are not controlling anything, we are not reducing the effect of independent variable on this, but here we are trying to reduce somewhat what to say the external effect on a variable here. So we get y and z. So we are supposed to verify what is the effect of external variables if we check with the same treatment applied on the input data. It can be done here. In third stage or in third type of experimental design, before and after with control design, we have time period 1 and time period 2. So we will be applying a before treatment input x, and then we will get a after treatment we'll get a treatment the output y. in a second time period, whereas this controlled input is provided without treatment, the before treatment. But here we are applying a control, we are reducing a effect of independent variable, and we are trying to get the Z as output after treatment. In this particular region, we are applying the experimentation without thinking about the independent variables. But in this particular region, we are controlling, trying to reduce the trying to reduce the effect of independent variables known as controlled area, and we'll check what is the effect of the treatment on the input data. So this is how we work with the informal experimental designs. We have formal experimental design. The first one is RB design, randomized block design. So in this randomized block design, we have the population, means a data set, what will be applying. So this data set will be applied to the experimentation. But as we say that randomized block design, so we have to group the data into number of parts, and the groups will be defined with the help of randomization. For example, if we have to create a group of 2, for as we will be doing here, uh, 2 groups, this is first group and this is second group. So if a group of 100 items are done in 2 groups, so each will have 50 items. So these 50 items will be randomly selected, and when we select it randomly, the samples of 100 will be selected randomly and considered as a group, and these 2 groups are differently experimented on different treatment. This is treatment A, this is treatment B, and the effect of external variable is verified or noted, recorded. What Whereas this effect will be considered under 2 different conditions, and depending on that we can think in which particular area we are supposed to work, in a controlled area or without controlled area. So this will help us, this kind of experimentation design will allow us to select which kind of experimentation we have to do, whether it is formal or it is informal. Then we also have the RB block, randomized defined randomized block design. So in this randomized block, so first of all we will be randomizely selecting in the group, but we are supposed to create the blocks here. So let us say that we have 10,000 items, and this 10,000 items are grouped into 10 different blocks randomly, and this randomly selected items in 10 different groups will be applied for experimentation. And this experimentation may have, or we say that this experimentation as a treatment, so we may have multiple treatments, so 1 2 10, maybe more than that. So we are supposed to apply all these group to all these treatments for experimentation. We also have a Latin square, LS square design. So this LS, Latin square design, is somewhat we have to create a matrix. So in this particular matrix we will be applying number of treatments and number of groups. So number of treatments in say in this is a kind of experimentation matrix, so where we'll be applying the experimentation on here. So we have experimentations and we have randomized groups here. So say group 1 2, then so on, and the experimentation on the row wise. So each row will get each experimentation, and that will be observed or accounted in the Latin square design method. So this is how we apply a formal experimentation designs and will verify it. See, we are not actually experimenting the things, but we are trying to select one of the experimentation design what we are going to apply on our in our project. So we know we have two experimentation design, one is informal and second is formal. So whether formal is applicable to our project or informal is applicable to our project. So if formal is applicable to our project, then which of this we should select, whether it is randomized, that is Latin square, or something else. So if we choose one of these, then we note down in the design that, and we say that in our experimentation we will be using formal experimentation design, and in that Latin square design if we think so. Factorial design, it's again another type of formal experimental design. So in this design, we'll be thinking more than one external variables which are directly or indirectly affecting the experimentation, or dependent variables. And if the dependent variables or experimentation is affected by the external variable, then definitely the output is going to change. And if the result changes, then we need to have much more feedback for the from the output, and accordingly we need to change. So before we do it, we need to think on how many external variables we will be dealing with. If the variables are more than one, then we will see that the formal experimental design will be the factorial design. So in this factorial design is used where the effects of varying more than one factor are to be determined. If one is a simple factorial design happens, only two factors are affecting an independent variable. But if many more variables are affecting on a experimentation or a dependent variable, then we can say that it is a complex factorial design. So we should design in a design thinking. So we should consider whether it is one variable affecting, more variable affecting, or more than that variable, or how many variables affecting to our experimentation. Accordingly, we need to plan how can we control the variables for a better result. This is how we understood the research design. Now the assignment. So which experimental design is useful for your research? You find out and write down the research design for your own project. Thank you.